Have you ever stood in front of your stove staring at a pot of homemade marinara that's been simmering for 45 minutes? Wondering why on earth the tomato chunks still look like perfectly rigid little plastic cubes? You bought the can with the beautiful illustration of the Italian countryside, the one that bragged about vine-ripened freshness. So, why does your dinner taste like watery, metallic disappointment? Here is a uncomfortable truth you need to swallow before your next grocery run. A shocking number of canned tomatoes sitting on American supermarket shelves aren't actually cans full of real, honest tomatoes. Instead, you are handing over your hard-earned money for legally engineered mixtures of tomato flesh, industrial processing runoff, acid correction chemicals, and synthetic texture additives designed specifically to make the absolute cheapest harvest look like a premium luxury product. And the worst part? The FDA allows every single bit of it. If you watch this investigation to the absolute end, you are going to find out exactly how the corporate food machine manipulates the weight, texture, and taste of what goes into your grocery cart. I'll show you the exact chemical villain that chefs quietly despise, the one responsible for ruining your pasta sauces. And we will break down the precise laboratory data and legal loopholes that allow massive corporations to sell you decorated water at fruit prices. By the time we finish, you will know more than 90% of shoppers, and you'll possess a foolproof 3-step strategy to audit any brand right in your own kitchen. But stick around, because the absolute most shocking revelation involves a massive, beloved brand that uses a legal magic trick to make you think you're buying imported luxury when you're actually getting basic commodity crops from a domestic industrial complex. Before we name the specific culprits hiding at your local Walmart or Kroger, we need to establish an educational foundation. The canned tomato industry does not cheat by creating fake plastic fruit in a lab. It cheats by legally engineering the legal definition of what qualifies as a tomato can. Think of it like buying a car where the dealership fills the trunk with concrete blocks just to meet a weight requirement, except here they are doing it with fluid. The industry relies heavily on 3 major shortcuts to maximize profit margins. The first is packing media. The FDA gives processors an incredibly long leash, allowing tomatoes to be packed in everything from pure juice to reprocessed tomato liquid or puree recovered directly from industrial processing runoff. In plain English, when you buy a standard 28-ounce can, you are frequently not receiving 28 ounces of edible, usable tomato flesh. You are paying premium prices for recovered processing wastewater that barely touched a vine. The second shortcut is pure texture engineering. And this is where the real culinary sabotage happens. To make sure fragile, low-quality tomatoes survive the brutal mechanical journey through high-speed factory conveyor belts and cross-country shipping trucks, corporations pump the cans full of calcium chloride. Think of calcium chloride as a structural straitjacket for produce. It binds to pectin, which is the natural compound holding tomato cell walls together, chemically locking the fruit into a permanent state of rigid firmness. It makes a tomato cube look absolutely beautiful and uniform when it spills out of the tin, but it completely ruins its ability to break down in your skillet. Real tomatoes are supposed to melt under heat. Engineered tomatoes stubbornly resist it. Finally, there is acid correction. When industrial farms harvest massive, bland, underripe crops that never had the chance to develop natural sugars and acids on the vine, processors don't reject them. They just dump in heavy amounts of citric acid to artificially tune the pH level and standardize the flavor across millions of identical cans. It is a deliberate supply chain choice to substitute chemistry for agricultural quality. Real premium tomatoes demand patience, ripe fruit, and gentle handling, which cuts into corporate profits. So instead, the industry gives you cheap tomato water and firming agents, leaving you at the stove wondering why your dinner won't come together. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the watery muck of corporate cutting corners, chemical straitjackets, and misleading European fairy tales printed on domestic tin cans. It is finally time to talk about the rare, honest gems that actually deserve a spot on your kitchen shelves. The products that respect your cooking, your wallet, and your intelligence. The transition from the chemical manipulation we just uncovered to these standout selections is your hard-earned reward for refusing to be fooled by slick marketing any longer. We are shifting gears into a world where tomatoes are treated like agriculture rather than an industrial chemical equation, and the difference in your food is going to be staggering. Let's kick things off with our first recommended brand, which represents the perfect balance of mainstream accessibility and clean processing, Muir Glen. Genuinely available at almost any standard American supermarket from Target to Safeway, this brand did not start its life as a minor afterthought inside a massive, faceless canned vegetable conglomerate. Muir Glen was founded in California with a strict, hyper-focused commitment to organic farming and minimal processing intervention, and that original identity still shines brightly through their product line today. When you flip a can of Muir Glen whole peeled tomatoes, you will see an incredibly clean, beautiful ingredient deck. Organic tomatoes, organic tomato juice, and sea salt. That is it. No calcium chloride holding the fruit hostage, and no artificial acid correctors trying to mask an underripe harvest. Because they source certified organic fruit grown in the fertile soils of California, they don't need a chemistry set to make their product taste good. In your kitchen, the physical experience of opening a can of Muir Glen is night and day compared to the bargain brands. The fruit is tender, deeply red, and yields effortlessly to the touch. When you run them through the drain test, you get a dense, heavy yield of actual usable tomato flesh instead of a sad puddle of pink wastewater. In the skillet, they melt beautifully into a rich, cohesive sauce within 15 minutes. Price-wise, Muir Glen sits at a mid-premium tier, usually costing just a bit more than the commodity options. But every extra penny is completely justified by the sheer volume of actual tomato fruit you are receiving. It is the ultimate everyday upgrade for standard home cooking. Next up is our ultimate sleeper hit, the value play winner that blows the roof off the entire industry, Red Gold. This is a family-owned, American-grown brand based right out of the Midwest that has been quietly outperforming the massive hype labels for decades with almost zero national marketing fluff. While other companies spend millions designing fake Italian family crests, Red Gold invests their capital directly into their relationships with local Midwestern family farms and state-of-the-art, hyper-efficient processing facilities that lock in flavor within hours of harvest. The big secret here is their exceptional tomato solids content. They pack their cans with dense, meaty fruit and minimal packing liquid. Now, for full transparency and honesty, we have to note one downside. You must be careful with ski selection here, as some of their diced varieties do contain firming additives for structural consistency. However, if you grab their whole peeled tomatoes or their crushed tomato varieties, you are getting an incredibly clean, pristine ingredient list at a price point that is frequently lower than the basic store brands. When you pour Red Gold into a strainer, the weight stays in the colander. Independent culinary tests and agricultural audits consistently show that Red Gold delivers some of the highest natural sugar levels and lowest water percentages in the budget category. It is an absolute powerhouse for slow-simmered chilis, Sunday stews, and large batch family pasta sauces where you need premium body without a premium price tag. Finally, we reach our undisputed heavyweight champion, the ultimate premium option for when you want the absolute best, and are fully prepared to pay for it. Muddy. This is an Italian tomato specialist from the Parma region, and unlike the deceptive style brands we exposed earlier, Muti is a legendary culinary institution with a genuine global reputation to protect. They do not maintain a random portfolio of canned corn or green beans. They do one thing and one thing only, and they do it with obsessive perfection. Muddy works under incredibly strict agricultural standards, paying their farmers premium bonuses based entirely on the ripeness, color, and natural sugar content of the delivered fruit. Their processing technology is so advanced and gentle that they can completely eliminate the use of citric acid and calcium chloride across their core premium lines. The result is a canned tomato that tastes completely alive, vibrant, and sweet, completely free of that metallic, cooked-down industrial aftertaste that plagues cheap brands. When you open a can of Moody whole-peeled tomatoes, you are greeted by uniform, perfectly ripe, deep crimson plum floating in a velvety, ultra-thick puree. The drain test is almost comical because there is virtually no separate watery phase to speak of. The entire can is pure, rich tomato mass. In the sauce collapse test, these tomatoes don't just soften. They integrate effortlessly into a luxurious, naturally sweet emulsion that tastes like it came out of a professional restaurant kitchen. Yes, Moody is expensive, often sitting at the highest price tier in stores like Whole Foods or Wegmans. But unlike the luxury imposters that charge you for a fancy label and deliver engineered domestic commodity scrap, Moody costs more because the raw agriculture inside the tin is fundamentally superior. It is the ideal choice for a classic, minimal ingredient Neapolitan pizza sauce or a delicate seafood pasta, where the pure flavor of the tomato has absolutely nowhere to hide. You can taste exactly where every single cent went. Now that you know which brands to trust and which ones to leave rotting on the store shelves, let's arm you with a practical set of rules so you can confidently walk into any Walmart, Target, or Publix and instantly spot the fakes on your own. Consider this your personal cheat sheet for the grocery aisle. Rule number 1. Always flip the can and check the ingredient order immediately. If tomato juice or puree is listed before the actual tomatoes, put it right back because you are paying fruit prices for filtered factory water. Rule number 2. Treat calcium chloride as an absolute red flag for any sauce recipe. If you see this chemical firming agent on the label, those tomatoes are structurally locked and will never melt smoothly into a proper culinary emulsion. Rule number 3. Avoid the generic citric acid trap whenever your budget allows. While a tiny amount is legally allowed for safety, brands that rely heavily on it are usually using chemistry to artificially mask a sour, unripened, low-quality harvest. Rule number 4. Never fall for the visual trickery of Italian flags, maps of Mount Vesuvius, or rustic old-world illustrations on the front label, unless you see a verified stamped certification of origin. That corporate marketing team is just dressing up basic domestic commodity crops. Rule number 5. Look for the words whole peeled over diced or crushed. When buying budget brands, whole tomatoes require a fundamentally higher baseline of physical quality to survive the peeling process, whereas diced varieties are almost always the bruised, defective leftovers chopped up and doused in firming chemicals. Rule number 6. Look specifically for high solids callouts or heavy net weight descriptions, which indicate that the manufacturer filled the tin with dense, meaty agriculture rather than topping it off with watery processing runoff. When you sum up everything we have uncovered today, the overarching principle is incredibly clear. The modern canned tomato industry is built entirely on a highly sophisticated system of legal engineering designed to maximize corporate profit margins at the absolute expense of your cooking and your wallet. Massive food conglomerates have calculated exactly how much chemical stabilizer, artificial acid, and recovered processing liquid they can pump into a tin can while still legally calling it a tomato. To stop being a victim of this aggressive supermarket marketing, you only need to make one simple shift in your consumer thinking. Stop buying the romance on the front of the packaging and start reading the cold, hard data printed on the back. The best canned tomatoes in the world will never require a complex periodic table of additives to pretend they are high quality. They excel simply because the underlying agriculture is superior, and their labels reflect that simplicity without requiring a law degree to decode. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of your grocery cart. If you feel like you learned something valuable today, please share this video with a friend or family member. We all have that one person in our lives who takes immense pride in their Sunday night pasta dinner, but is still unknowingly sabotaging their hard work with cheap corporate cans. I want to hear directly from you down in the comments section. Which of these specific brands is sitting in your kitchen pantry right now? And have you ever noticed those unmelting tomato cubes in your own cooking? If you want to keep exposing the hidden truths behind the everyday products you consume, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. And if you are ready for your next eye-opening consumer investigation, click on the video link appearing on your screen right now, where we break down the shocking truth about what major brands are actually